Damn. Well, ain't karma a bitch? I looked out at my friends on the other side of the barrier right in front of me. I wanted to call out for them to help me, but I wasn't sure if I even could. Even if they could get through this barrier that came out of nowhere, I had a gun pressed to the back of my head. I wanted to teleport away, hoping that that could save me. Which was faster, pulling the trigger or my spell? I already knew the answer, and it wasn't pleasant. My friends just looked at me, rage written on their faces. Aura's talon was on her energy spear, but she didn't draw it. Stardust looked ready to jump in the air and attack whoever was holding the gun to my head. Wingnut looked shocked, as if he had no idea what he should do. The only one who didn't look angry was Silver. Her eyes were widened. She looked frightened. Whoever was behind me went through a lot to trap me here. That was if they were even after me. With my luck, it was another one of the Sins I hadn't met yet, or another hopeful bounty hunter. The only thing I figured I could do was try and talk my way out of it. Don't move, you evil bitch. That's a new one. The gun pressed harder against the back of my skull as the deep-voiced pony behind me said, "You shouldn't talk either. You'll make my gun angry. She shoots things when she's angry." From behind me, I heard another pony face hoof. "You better let her go. If you don't, I'll kill you where you stand," Stardust said from the other side of the barrier. I heard the other pony's voice. It was smoother than the first, but sounded similar. "I'm sorry, but we can't do that. You have any idea what you've been traveling with?" "Yes, she's my friend. Let her go." "You shut your trap. You don't understand what's going on here," the first pony said. "I'd like to know what's going on here," I interrupted. "You don't get a say in this," he snapped at me. Deciding I was tired of always having guns pointed at me, I ducked down, twisted, and smacked his gun aside. Using my magic, I lifted Dreamwalker and pointed it at him. The other stallion lifted a beautifully engraved pistol towards me. He didn't say a word. He only pointed it at me as I pointed my own at the other stallion. "Put down your gun, or I'll blow your head off," I warned. "Do that, and I'll blow yours off," he said as his magic pulled back on the hammer. It took a moment to look at the two who'd ambushed us. One thing was for sure, they weren't Sins, or at least they didn't look like they were. They were both unicorns, with the one that had my gun pointed at me, a little shorter than the Stardust, with a tan coat, with a short blonde mane and tail, green eyes. His cutie mark was... is that a pie? The other one was a lot taller. He had a tan coat with long brown mane and green eyes like the other. His cutie mark was a leather-bound book and a symbol on the cover. They were both wearing flannel shirts in the hot wasteland. That was... Ding? Aura and Stardust came up next to me, their weapons drawn. Aura smiled at the two. "Seems to me like you idiots are outnumbered." "We've been in worse situations. Why are you protecting a possessed pony anyway?" the shorter one said. "Who are you two, and what do you mean by possessed?" I asked, still not lowering my gun. "Squirrel, maybe they don't know. You ever think about that?" the tall one asked. It was then that I noticed the taller one had a pip buck. Are they stable ponies? Just the tall one. Unless the one called Squirrel lost his or got rid of it. Putting that aside, I got my mind back to what was going on. "Can you two explain to us why you came after me, or what you want?" "Yeah, and what's this glowing symbol on the ground?" Wingnut asked, walking up to us, ignoring the drawn weapons and looking around at the strange glowing lines in the shape of a circled star. As Wingnut walked up, the taller pony finally lowered his weapon. Can't do this in front of a kid." "Do what?" Wingnut asked, giving him a nod look. "I'm not a kid." Squirrel looked back at his companion. "What are you doing, Moose?" "Squirrel, are we even sure that she's possessed? I mean, come on. She's just a kid herself. If she was possessed, why wouldn't she have done anything by now?" This was getting really weird. At least they weren't pointing guns at us anymore. Squirrel cursed and turned his back on me, ignoring the weapon I still had pointed at him. We've been hunting her down for a week. You saw what happened back at Hidden Sands. The Devil's Trap worked on her, and not on the others. What proof do you need? Let's kill the bitch and get on our way. I'm hungry. You just ate. Yeah, like an hour ago. I need a hayburger lathered with cheese. What the fuck do you two want? Aura finally yelled. She looked like she was ready to dice them up into tiny little stallion nuggets. The taller pony, Moose, I guess, sighed and turned back to face us. I'm Moose. This is my brother Squirrel. We're hunters. We've been tracking her for a little over a week, ever since we saw her fight with those griffins just outside of Hidden Sands. Squirrel threw his hooves in the air. Oh yeah! Just tell him, why don't ya? Good job, Moose. What do you tell him next, huh? Gonna tell him that we're after the Demon Slayer? Got a funny look and mouthed the words. Demon Slayer? Wait now, dumbass, Moose said, rolling his eyes. Okay, so I'm gonna leave now? You guys are crazy. I turned to walk away, then face-planted into the barrier like a bird hitting a window. Right. Almost forgot about that thing. Can you please get rid of this? They both looked at my friends and I, and Squirrel said, No way. We've been planning this for days. We're not letting you get away. Come on. I said please. I said, then sat down. I don't know what you saw or what you want, but I'm sure that you've got the wrong mare. I'm just a courier for the Equestrian Express. Afraid not. We saw you turn into something else. You used some pretty wild spells and took down one of the griffins and almost another, Moose said. Then you went and stabbed yourself and changed back. You got a demon hiding inside you, kid. I'm sure you know that already, though, Squirrel added. Did they mean Morningstar? What do they know about her? More than I knew from the sound of it. Might as well see what else they can tell me. I still don't understand what happened to me back there. All I know is that something inside me let me use its power to fight off the griffins. If it didn't let me its power, I'd be dead. I don't know if I'm just crazy or what, but you're not wrong that I've been hearing things inside my head. My friends all looked at me with concern on their faces. Aura spoke up. Why didn't you tell us this, Shadow? I didn't want you to worry about me, or think I was going nuts. Shadow, I'd never think you were crazy. Stupid, maybe, but not crazy. Stardust said with a smirk. I don't know. Hearing things in your head is a little crazy, Aura said, getting close and looking into my eyes. I mean, you've been through a lot lately. It's possible your mind is trying to compensate for the stress. Or she's possessed by a demon, Squirrel threw you in. Demons aren't real, Aura shot back. Wingnut just sat there watching us, his head switching between us and the brothers. Moose sighed. Demons are real. Zebras call them star spawns, creatures of the stars that come down to kill or possess ponies and zebras alike. They have a whole lore revolving around it, and it's one of the reasons they fear yet respect the stars. Personally, I don't think they're spirits. But there's a lot of things we've seen over the years to show that anything could be real. You're the first pony we've seen that's been possessed by one. So, you don't think I'm crazy? You think I have some star thingy living inside of me? Yep, they're both nuts. I'd rather go with me being insane than an evil spirit living inside of me. In a way, yeah, Squirrel said. Yeah, fuck that. I'm leaving. Let me out of this stupid thing, I said, pulling Dreamwalker out again. We can prove it, and if we're right, we can exorcise it. No way. I'm not letting two ponies I don't know cast spells on me. Well, Moose, we tried it your way. Can we just shoot the bitch now? No. Just make sure her friends don't get in the way, Moose said. Fine, he replied as his horn glowed. His magic surrounded my friends and they froze in place. Their eyes were moving, but it looked like they couldn't even speak. I backed up against the barrier and watched as Moose walked close to me. Stay away from you, freak! I brought up Dreamwalker and fired, The stallion's horn glowed, and he vanished and reappeared a moment later next to me. Before I could fire again, he hit the gun out of my magic, then drew a quick circle on the ground in front of me, with 3 stars in the middle, and started to chant. "Come forth, demon of the stars! Reveal to us your true form, so we may gaze upon your visage!" For a second, nothing happened. I smiled. "See, you're both wrong." Then the pain hit me. I started to scream as her voice started to laugh in my head, saying, "Oh, I like these two. Who would have known that there are 2 unicorns in the wasteland who know Ode zebra spells?" I held my hooves to my head and yelled, "Go away! I'm not letting you in again!" The circle moose drew started to glow red, and the pain in my head doubled. I fell to my side, screaming louder as Morningstar started to laugh louder. Then I felt my hooves move on their own as I stood. My lips pulled into a grin as I said in a voice not my own, "Very good, boys. Where have you been all my life?" No. No, please, no. I thought to myself as I started to walk slowly towards Moose, who was backing away a little, his horn still glowing. "Take it you're the demon? What's your name?" I looked around the bigger magic circle that was keeping me trapped. I frowned. I didn't know there were traps for beings such as myself. How did you find out something like this? "Shut up, you evil bitch! It's time for you to die!" Squirtle said, pulling out his gun again. I looked over at him and smiled. "You think you have what it takes to kill me? You two are hilarious. Do you do parties? Oh, please tell me you do parties. This is such good entertainment." "Squirrel, you can't kill her. If we do, it'll kill the host too." "I know that, Moose, but we can't let something like this wander the wasteland." Moose bucked the gun away and looked back at me. Or Morningstar. It was starting to get hard to tell where I started and she ended. "Who are you? And why are you inside this mare?" I looked at them confused. "What do you mean? I'm just another part of Shadowstar. Her true power held dormant by a spell. Your spell helped me show myself. You really should read more about zebra spells before trying them out on some pony." "You're full of shit, monster. Moose, do something quickly. I can't hold the spell on her friends for much longer, and I'm sure they aren't too happy right now with what's going on." "Fuck it. Fine. But first, I still want to know who she is." I laughed. "I just told you who I am. But if it's too much to call me Shadow because of the personality change, you can call me Morningstar." "Fuck this. I'll pull you out of that mare before you can do anything else to her," Moose said. He started to spew out words in another language that must have been zebra. Morningstar started to yell as if she was in pain, falling to the ground and starting to make choking noises. When Moose finished his spell, he stomped down hard on the ground and shouted out the last word. She screamed again, then started to laugh, rolling around on the ground as my hooves held onto my stomach. "Oh, please, go on. I think I almost felt something with that last word." Moose, I don't think it worked," Squirrel said. "You think?" Moose replied, rounding on his brother. "I did the spell perfectly. What's going on?" "Don't look at me, you're the smart one. I just shoot things," Squirrel replied. I stopped my laughing, then stood looking both of them seriously in the eyes. "I'm bored now. Oh, I have an idea. Let's see how far you can run before I incinerate you. If you make it outside the circle, I might let you live." "We aren't scared of you or whatever power you think you have," Moose said. "Maybe she's just crazy," Squirrel added. I could feel a spell building in my horn as I started to count in a sing-songy way, swaying one hoof left and right. 1, 2, gonna kill you. 3, 4, you're such a bore. 5, 6, you're in a fix. 7, 8, accept your fate. 9, 10, never breathe again. "No, I'm not letting you do this," I yelled. To my surprise, the words came out of my muzzle. My hooves stopped moving, and Morningstar replied, "You're still there? Go away. You're not needed anymore, Shadow." "This is my body, not yours," I retorted. "I've been trapped in your head for too long. You're nothing but a shadow of me. Why do you think Grimm named you that? You have no idea what you are. It's my turn, and I won't give you back what's rightfully mine." By the time she finished, she was screaming. By this time, every pony and Griffin was staring at me. The two brothers looked like they had no idea what to do. Aura had a look of shock and fear on her face. Stardust looked worried. Wingnut was shaking, and Silver looked sad. They hadn't seen this side of me before. They had no idea what was going on in my messed up head. I had no idea what was going on. All I knew was that Morningstar was taking over again, and I had no idea what to do. The spell they cast to call her out somehow made her stronger. I couldn't even take hold of my own magic to do something like before. As I stood there trying to take back control, Squirrel's horn popped, and my friends were released from his spell. They didn't move, though. They looked at me like they didn't know who I was. I didn't even know who I was anymore. Was Morningstar right? Was I nothing but a shadow of the mare who'd been Grimm's daughter? It makes sense. I had no memories of myself before the stable. All I knew was the life of a stable pony. Who forgot everything about their life like that? I remember what Elder Appleslice had said. Grimm's daughter was sick and wasn't long for this world. She was looking for something she could use to save her daughter. Hell, I didn't even know what that filly looked like that she described. And Grimm wouldn't have left her daughter in the stable no matter what. The elder said that, but she also said that she saw a little of Grimm in me as well. Was that just the bits of Morningstar showing through? I could feel tears starting to fall down my face as I looked at my friends. My friends. Could I even call them that anymore? I hadn't told them what really happened to me when I killed Aura's brother, or about hearing the voice of Morningstar for the past couple of weeks. I hadn't even told them about the dreams. What kind of friend was I to keep secrets like that? Shadow, are you still in there? Aura asked, slowly walking towards me. Stay away, you hybrid freak! Morningstar hissed, looking back at the griffin through my eyes. I wasn't talking to you, whatever you are. I'm talking to my friend, Aura snapped. I wanted to say something, but Morningstar's fury grew and her strength seemed to as well. She giggled a little when she looked up at the sky, her laughter growing louder. Your friend? Really, Aura? Do you really want to call her your friend after what happened to Tripwire? I thought friends died around you. She froze, unable to speak. Stardust moved up next to her and looked at me. Morningstar. Whatever. I don't know what those two did to you, Shadow, but snap out of it. Or what? Are you going to shoot me? Or maybe you'll bore me to death. Tell me, Stardust, why should I be scared of you? Don't tempt me, he growled. You shoot me, you shoot her too. We're one and the same. You're not Shadow, Wingnut said, coming over to stand next to the other two. Shadow wouldn't say anything like that to her friends. Oh, dear child. I am Shadow. Or should I say she's me? A broken part of me, that is, but still me. She's nothing but a slice of my own soul mixed together with a spell. Why do you think she has no idea who she was before she got to Stable 28? And that's because she woke up in the clinic. It was the first time she'd awoken. She can't remember anything because there isn't anything to remember. What kind of spell? Silversnip asked as she went to also stand by next to my friends. Bruce, can we kill her now? Squirrel asked, looking at me, anger etched in his features. I looked back at them and cast a spell. They were both thrown back and held to the ground, unable to speak. You two stay out of this, she said, then looked back at Silver. I remember you. From what I can tell, you know everything Shadow does. So what? My eyes narrowed. No. I remember you from before. You were a filly who did something nice for me. You were helping my mother at some ratty shop in Cartwheel. A hoof came up and rubbed the side of my head. I can't remember what, though. Why can't I remember? You said your name was Morningstar, right? That is who I am, Morningstar yelled back at her. If so, then what did I say to you when your mom came into our shop looking for information on a stable pony? When she said those words, a memory hit me, almost like entering into a memory orb, like before when that unicorn cast a spell on me at the bramble. The world around me melted away. This memory was different from the last. Everything came in perfectly. The colors and images came in sharply. I was sitting by the door in a small shop, what I recognized now as the shop's silver snip ran and cartwheel. Mom was patting my head a little and smiling down at me. My heart was racing like before, and my chest hurt. I was having a hard time breathing, too. It hurt, but despite that, I still managed to smile up at my mother. Will you be okay here for a few minutes, little star? I think so, Mommy. My chest hurts, though, I said in a weak voice. I know. Just relax and you'll feel better soon. Okay, Mommy, I said, resting my head against the wall as Mom walked over to talk with the mayor who ran the shop. He looked a lot like Silver Snip, only older, with a pinkish red coat and a light blue mane. I was about to close my eyes when somebody tapped on my shoulder. I looked up and saw a red-coated filly. She was smiling at me. She looked close to my age. She was bouncing from hoof to hoof. Hi there. I'm Silver Snip. Nice to meet you. I smiled back. I hadn't got to talk to many ponies my own age very often. I'm Morningstar, though every pony just calls me Little Star since I'm so small. You look out of breath. Were you just playing outside? No, my mommy thinks I'm sick. If I move around too much, my chest starts to hurt, and I get a little weak, I said, frowning a little. She sat down next to me. That's not good. How do you have fun then? I read. My mommy says it's good for me to learn, and how I can use my knowledge one day to learn lots of spells like she does. Reading's boring, though. How can you just go around reading all the time when there's so much you can do outside? Cartwheel's a safe place, and kids like us can do lots of fun things around here. Mommy says I can't play too much or I might get sick, or... Her ears drooped. Aw, that's too bad. There aren't many other fillies my age around here. Only colts, and they never want to play with me unless they're making me the bad pony in their games. I stuck my tongue out. Colts are stupid. You're telling me. Well, if you can't play outside, what else do you do for fun apart from reading? I don't know. Sometimes I pretend I'm a hero from one of my books, and I'm going to save the world from evil monsters that roam around. It's all in my head, though, but I pretend it's all real. She beamed at me. That sounds like a lot of fun. It is. One time I pretended I was a dragon and came down to the wasteland from a tall cliff to stop an evil discord from turning ponies into statues. I bet you have a lot of fun stories, she said. I do, but I never get to play with anyone else. I don't have any friends. She looked at me for a long moment, her hoof tapping the underside of her muzzle. Then she put it into the air and declared, That changes today. From now on, I'll be your friend. That way, whenever you have fun stories to tell, you know you'll have a friend to tell them to. You don't even know me. And I don't think we're staying long. Mom's only here to talk to the shop pony about something. I sulked. She winked. Every pony has a friend. Used to have one now and then. So, if you won't be here long, you can always send me letters. Just give them to any courier pony you see that works for the Equestrian Express. Nice old buck started up quite a few years ago. It runs right out of Cartwheel. Tell the courier that it's for me, and they'll bring it here on the return trips. Maybe you can tell me about your adventures that way. My eyes grew wide. You mean you really want to hear my stories? And want to be my friend? She nudged me and laughed. Of course I do. I wouldn't lie to a sweet filly like you. I promise no matter how long it takes, I'll wait for your letters. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time you're in town. Maybe next time, I'll be better and we can play outside. She smiled wider. Next time I see you, I promise I'll be right here ready to show you how fun my town can be. Pinkie Pie promise? I said. Cross my heart, hope to fly, stick a cupcake in my eye, she said, doing the silly dance that Wingnut showed us. Friends forever. Remember that. I smiled and nodded. Then Mom came back over and smiled down at the two of us. Are you making new friends, little star? This is Silver Snip. She said when I'm better, she'll show me fun things to do outside, I said, getting excited. My heart started to thump faster. Mom's face grew distant, then she shook herself, and her horn glowed. Pain receded a little. Then, with a sigh, she said, I know what I need to do now. How about we go find Vervain and tell her the news that you made a friend? She looked over at the other filly. Thank you for keeping my daughter company, but sadly we have to be going. The memory faded away. I was back in the clearing now, my friends still looking at me. The brothers were still frozen to the ground, and Morningstar was still rubbing the side of my head, trying to remember. You promised me that we'd be friends forever, and that one day, when I'm all better, you'd show me the fun things to do around Cartwheel. I said. The real me, not Morningstar. I could feel her hold on me ebbing away slightly as I spoke those words. She smiled at me. Shadow? I looked over at her, ignoring the presence of the mare who was trying to keep a hold of my mind. I don't know what to do to stop her, Silver. She moved closer to me, putting a hoof on my face. I had a feeling when I first met you back in Cartwheel that you were the same filly I'd met so many years ago. You looked different, but you still had the same cute look you did back then. My voice changed again as Morningstar took control of me. You know nothing, you little slut. I'm Morningstar. She's nothing. My body jumped back and my horn glowed as she cast a spell, lightning crackling in front of me. A loud thunderous sound followed, cracking the earth below our hooves and breaking the markings that had formed a large seal that made the barrier keep me trapped. She turned to run, but Silver in front of her moved first. You're not Morningstar. You're not even Shadow. You don't know anything. You're just some fucking tailor from a shithole town. I'm also the pony who promised to always be that little filly's friend. That filly was scared and gentle. A lot like Shadow is now. You're not her because there's no way that filly would have turned into a pony like you. Go away, whoever you are, and leave her alone, she said, standing her ground. I got a hold of my body for a moment and said, Silver, please move. She's more powerful than you know. No, Shadow, I won't move. I won't leave you alone, not like your mother did. I won't let anything happen to you. Aura moved to block the way too and said, We all care about you, and we're here for you no matter what. Morningstar laughed again and started to cast another spell. You're all worthless. If you won't move, I'll make you. I wanted to scream, to yell, to do anything I could to make her stop. Then Silver moved forward again and kissed me. Fire erupted in my heart. A good fire, something that only a pony who loved you could spark. Morningstar seemed to cringe away from the feeling, trying to make my body move away from my friends. With all my power, I took hold and kissed the mare back, using the feeling I had felt to push away the creature who wanted to pretend that she was me. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. I had no idea. Then I remembered something. Something that felt like it belonged to me. I wouldn't let that feeling go no matter what. There was a scream inside my head, as Morningstar was pushed back into the depths of my mind. My body slumped as I broke the kiss. Silver caught me with her magic and pulled me close, tears in her eyes and a smile on her face. I just sighed again, and smiled, nuzzling into her neck as I lay against her. Don't ever scare me like that again, you hear me? She whispered in my ear. I nodded my head. I remembered. I actually remembered something from before I went to the stable. I know. I'm happy you did too. Whatever that thing is, she isn't you, Shadow. Yeah, and even if she was, we like this Shadow better, Aura said, walking over and thumping the side of my head. She looked over at Squirrel and Moose, who were watching us, a little confused. What the fuck are you two looking at? Stardust asked, glaring back at them. What did you do to her? Nothing. All we did was cast a spell that would make something show itself if it was possessing her. We've never seen anything like that before, Moose replied. Told you I should have shot her, Squirrel said, looking at me. Nothing personal, but whatever that thing is, it's nuts. Powerful, too. Those two traits never go well together. It took another minute to hug Silver. I stood and walked over to the two brothers. That spell you did. I'm glad you did it. Should have told my friends sooner about what's been going on. Yeah, you should have, Aura said, glaring at me. Anyway, now that I know something is inside me and not just slowly going insane, is there anything you can do to get it out? Moose looked down at his hooves. We don't know what that was. I have a few guesses, but I won't know for sure until I can look through some more zebra lore. I wouldn't know how to get that thing out of you. But it doesn't seem to do well when it has to face feelings like the love of your friends have for you. I laughed a little. He also doesn't take well to me stabbing myself either. Squirrel looked puzzled. You stabbed yourself to stop her last time? I nodded. I let her take over to save my life. Back when I was fighting those griffins. She went too far and wouldn't let me take back control, so I used what strength I had left to stab myself, and it worked. You've got some balls on you, Squirrel said with a laugh. I'm sort of glad we didn't shoot you now. I don't like the thought of an evil spirit wandering around the wasteland just like that, though. She can take over anytime she wants if she keeps getting stronger. Moose brightened up a little. I think I have an idea. I have no clue if it'll work or not, but I think it's worth a try. I could feel a morning star, but right now she was too stunned to take over again. What did you have in mind? He pulled out a ring. This is an old zebra talisman that's said to protect the wearer from the influence of stars. Try wearing it and see if it works. I took the strange-looking ring with magic and asked, how do I wear this? The talisman itself is a ring. It's fitted to go over a horn or to be worn around a pony's neck if you chain to put it on. Flip it over your horn and see what happens. Are you sure it's not going to do something weird to me, like when you cast that spell? Hasn't hurt us in the past, so yeah, I think you're fine, Squirrel said confidently. Wait a minute, Shadow. You're really going to trust these two after what just happened? Aura asked, walking over to me and looking down at the ring. If it does something weird, then take it off of me, I said, slipping the ring over my horn. A moment later, it felt like something stabbing itself into my horn for a moment, making me wince in pain. It was nothing compared to what Morningstar did, though. She screamed inside my head, then a moment later she was gone. Even the small feeling of her presence that I'd felt since I first came into the wasteland was gone. I felt almost normal. So, how do you feel? Aura asked. Good. Really good. Glad to hear that, Moose said, smiling down at me. Listen, I'm sorry about us ambushing you like we did. We don't normally have to resort to those kind of tactics when we're hunting. We just didn't know any other way we could find out what you were. I shrugged. At least you didn't shoot me. Tell you what, I'll go see what I can find in my books and scrolls. When it comes up, I'll leave you a message with Sergeant Rope at the NLR in the JetBlue Skyport, back in your Pegasus. We live not far from there. Sounds fine to me, I said, turning to head back to my friends. Oh, by the way, next time you try and trap me in a circle like that, I'll let Aura have her way with both of you. Trust me, you don't want to see her angry. They both looked a little shocked by my remark. Then Squirrel laughed. I like her. Why don't we head into the city? I heard they have a new kind of pie at the Applewood. Thinking with your stomach, aren't you? Moose said as they turned and headed back toward New Pegasus. Aura and Stardust were both looking at me. What? You owe us an explanation on what that was all about, Stardust said. I smiled and walked past both of them, walking over to Silver and Wingnut before looking back. When you two start telling me more about your past, I'll tell you more about mine. Come on. This distraction lost us a lot of time, and I want to get this next job for the Queen finished. It took another hour or so before they both stopped pestering me for information on what happened. Now they were both sulking behind me as we made our way up to the hill towards Frosty Summit Ski Lodge. I noticed that Wingnut wasn't talking much, and he was keeping closer to Silver as we walked. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. What's wrong, Wingnut? He glanced over at me. Is that really you, Shadow? Or are you still that other thing? I'm still Shadow. This ring on my horn seems to be keeping her at bay. He seemed to relax. That's good. I didn't like her. She's mean. Yeah, she's a total bitch. But I won't let her take over again. And if she tries, I'll be here to bring back Shadow. And we all know and love. Silver added in.
That's good. But what is she anyway?
Wingnut asked, looking up at me. I have no idea. She seems to think she's another part of me, or the me before I went into Stable 28. I don't think I'll know until I find Mom. Or maybe this Vervain I keep hearing about from my mother's notes and the memory that I had? Whatever she isn't good, that's for sure, Silver said. It wouldn't be the wasteland without some psychotic monster trying to kill some pony, I said with a roll of my eyes.
You've got a point there,
he said, looking on ahead.
Hey Shadow, what do you do when you finally find your mom?
I stopped for a moment, cocking an eye at him. Why do you ask?
Because I wanted to know. Why else?
The little bastard. He had a point. What would I do if I found her? From what I'd learned so far, something happened between her meeting with Lonely Hearts and now. Was she even the same mare anymore? I'd only been in the wasteland a couple of weeks now, and look how much I'd changed. I guess now she's different too, but she still has the little part of who she used to be deep inside. Maybe seeing me would bring back the loving mother I used to know. I smiled at him and shrugged. I'm not really sure at this point. All I really know is that I want information on why she left and why she wanted me to find this pit-buck.
What if she's as bad as Lonely Heart said she was?
Then I'll deal with that when the time comes. All I need to know right now is that I have to find her. Silver looked over at me. When do you think you'll do that? Right now, I'm waiting to find out if Lonely Hearts can find out more about what happened to her over the past few years. My mind is fixed on helping the Queen and finding Nexus. She smiled at me. Personally, I think you should just forget about finding her and just live your life. Who said you have to go out and find her? Wouldn't you want to find your mother if she was missing for 8 years with no explanation? I asked her. Not really. My mother was a bitch. I think I was the only pony from Cartwheel that didn't feel bad when she was killed by the raiders when they came to town. She said it so casually, like it was nothing. Honestly, deep down it kinda hurt to hear her talk about her mother like that. What if that's what I turn out to be like when I finally confront Mom and find out she died somehow? You mean you didn't like your mom? She sighed. Every pony in town did, but they didn't know her like I did. She always hated being stuck in Cartwheel, with a filly she never wanted. She used to drink and yell at me all the time when no pony was around. If she was so bad, then why did you take over the shop when she died? I asked. I didn't do it for her. I did it because I love making things. She got a faraway look in her eyes. One day, I want to make beautiful dresses, as beautiful as Rarity herself used to make before the war. I smiled and kissed her cheek. And one day I'm sure you will. Smiled again. Thank you. You're so sweet. Ew. Get a room. Actually, scratch that. Just stop altogether. Stardust said, walking past us, making small gagging noises. Silver giggled, then kissed me in full view of the stallion again and said, Why do that when it's much more fun to gross you out? He shivered, then turned. Next thing you know, you two are going to be talking about moving in together and starting a family. And more mushy stuff. Start a family my ass, you guys can't even procreate! Popping out of my little daze after the kiss, I looked over at my friend. What's wrong with Silver kissing me? Aura moved up next to us and laughed. Nothing. He's just mad because he doesn't have a special sun pony to kiss in view of everyone. He blushed. Am not, shut up. We all started to laugh as he blushed harder. Hate you all, he huffed, and I could see the smile he was trying to hide. It was nice to see things that were going back to normal. As normal as things, got in the wasteland anyway. Right then, the wasteland had to show me how normal it would get. Red bars showed up on my EFS. Great. What now? I asked, pulling out Dreamwalker. What's going on? Silver asked, looking down at the road. We've got company. Just as my friends drew their weapons, something came over the hilltop. It looked like a pony. Kind of. Only it looked like it was made out of moss and vines. Its eyes were a sickly green color. When it saw us, it let out a howl like nothing a pony should ever make. It started to move towards us almost as fast as a flying Pegasus. It opened its muzzle and vomited something.
Look out! Don't let that stuff hit you!
Aura said, pushing me back and dodging the projectile.
What the fuck is that thing? It's a moss lurker. I haven't seen one for a long time. They didn't really show up near this old stable I went to once,
she said, rushing forward and slashing the thing with her spear. It howled again, but then Aura's spear glowed brighter and the creature dissolved into ash. Wow, never seen her spear do that before. As it fell, more came over the hill. I slipped into sats and fired. One went down, its head exploding as Dreamwalker did his little trick. Wingnut pulled out his revolver and came to stand by my side as more moss lurkers crawled over the crest of the hill. Their cries started to echo off the trees around us.
How many are there?
I asked, taking out another as it dove towards me. The Gooba was spitting, missing me by inches.
I'm not sure, but they aren't hard to take down,
Stardust said, his rifle booming. It looks like there's only one more on my EFS, but it's not moving, I said as Aura pulled her spear out of one of them.
I'll get it,
Wingnut said, running up the hill. I turned and yelled, No, Wingnut!
I can handle it if it's only one,
he said, reaching the crest of the hill, his revolver in his mouth. He fired, and the red mark on my EFS went out. He looked back at me and grinned around the bit of his gun.
See?
My EFS lit up like a light with red bars. A screeching howl erupted from over the hill. Wingnut turned, then flew back as blackish-green sludge smacked him in the face, throwing him back down to the hill. His revolver went flying as he hit the bottom. He started to thrash and scream, holding his hooves to his eyes and muzzle.
Fuck! One got him in the face!
Aura said, flying over the colt, trying to hold him down. As she did, more started to come up over the hill, their cries filling the air.
Shadow! Do something now! I can't fight them and help Wingnut at the same time!
I watched as they moved their way down towards Aura and Wingnut, and I couldn't move. Their eyes were glued on the colt, who was screaming in agony only a few feet away. Stardust rushed over and started to fire his rifle at the ones that were closer to the pair. Silver was also helping as best she could, but there were just so many. Wingnut, I started to say. Then Aura took hold of the colt and flew in behind me, the colt still writhing in her talons.
Are you just standing there, Shadow? Help us!
Stardust yelled as his rifle cracked shot after shot at the plant-like ponies. I don't know what to do, I said, sounding like a complete fool. Aura looked at me.
Snap out of it, Shadow. If you don't, the rest of your friends are going to die.
She was right. I couldn't just stand here like I was an idiot while my friends fought. I shook myself and turned back to the onslaught of monsters that were rushing towards me. A blob of glue flew past my face as I turned, flapping the ground and hissing. I lifted Dreamwalker and started to fire. I slipped into sats as I went to stand next to Silver and Stardust. I targeted 3 and took each down. Dreamwalker roared with each shot of the trigger. I dodged another blob of slime as one got close, and Stardust whipped around and took down one with the butt of his rifle. Silver, I could see, was a great shot with her own pistol. Each shot she took was almost perfect. She never needed more than 2 shots to take one of the creatures down. Soon I found myself smiling as the 3 of us fought back the monsters. The sound of our combined weaponry echoing around us, blocking out the other sounds as we went on. No matter what came at us, my friends and I could take it. That is, until we heard the worst sound in the world to hear while fighting a horde of mutilated monster pony things. Lick! I went to reload Dreamwalker again, then realized that I was out of ammo. I looked over at Stardust, who was looking at me with the same look of horror on his face. Are you out of ammo too? He nodded. Yeah. Silver? She nodded. I forgot to stock up when we left. Well, fuck, was all I could say as I watched the horde of plant ponies come rushing up the hill. Goddesses, please do something. There was a flash of blue light, as if my prayer had been answered. A goddess appeared, but she wasn't Celestia or Luna. This goddess had a blue coat and mane that bore no cutie mark. She looked at us for a moment, but I noticed the glowing red necklace around her neck. She looked at Wingnut, who was still screaming, then back at the oncoming monsters. "Be gone!" she said in a thunderous voice that echoed inside my head. Her horn glowed brightly, and a wave of power escaped from her. Everything coming down the hill at us screamed, then vanished in a flash of red fire. Once the magic passed, only a couple were left at the top of the hill. They looked down at the Alicorn, then fled. I looked up in awe at the mighty power of this creature that just saved our lives. "Thank you, goddess. That is, you are a goddess?" She looked down at me and spoke, only her muzzle didn't move. "I am no goddess, but I am pleased to be of assistance." Her eyes looked over at Wingnut again, who was still writhing under Aura's talons. "Your small companions need help. We have a doctor back at our home. Let me take him." To my shock, Silver and Stardust both pointed their weapons at the Alicorn, forgetting that they didn't have any ammunition. Then Stardust said in a cold voice, "You aren't taking him anywhere, monster." She just looked at him like he was a bug. "And what do you plan on doing with that? You are out of ammunition, and even if you could, it wouldn't harm me." "Alicorns are monsters. You can't trust them. And if you don't know, if I'm no little or not." "I know more than you think. And yes, you are right, Pegasus. Alicorns are monsters. Most of them, anyway. I am not like my sisters. But I don't have time to explain right now. If the cult does not get to our physician soon, he will start to turn into one of those moss lurkers. It is a painful process, and one that cannot be fixed if not treated quickly," she said, her muzzle still not moving. Stardust's rifle shook as he fought the urge to do something and save Wingnut. I walked up to him and pushed his weapon down. "We don't have time for this. Wingnut's hurt. His safety comes first." "You can't trust these things, Shadow," Silver said, walking up to me. Aura spoke up. "You're right, Silversnip. But we don't have much choice right now. I've heard things about Alicorns that live in Frosty Summit. We can trust them for now." "Griffin, do you know where the lodge is?" the Alicorn asked, looking down at her. "I do." "He'll be there when you arrive. It's not far," she said, walking over and touching her horn to Wingnut. "Don't worry, little one. The pain will soon end." Her horn glowed, and then Wingnut went still. "What did you do to him?" I asked, running over. He was still breathing, so she didn't kill him, thank the goddesses. "I put him to sleep. If he kept that screaming, he would have only made things worse for himself," she said, looking down at me. "Make your way to the lodge, and I promise he will be in good hooves." I looked back at my friends, then at Wingnut. "Fine. Just make sure he's okay." "I will." Then with a flash, she was gone, along with Wingnut. "I have a bad feeling about this. I know the Queen said something about Alicorns living up here, but I thought it was only a story some pony started to keep others away," Stardust said, walking over to us and looking down at the spot where Wingnut had just been. "The Red Talons have known about them for a long time. For some reason, they showed up a few years back and started making trouble for the locals around New Pegasus. Then, one day, they just stopped. We started hearing about 6 of them holding up in the old lodge known as Frosty Summit. They haven't left there since, and I don't know why. Started helping ponies who'd go up there to find them. Foxtape said he traded with them before, and they aren't a bad lot. Oddballs, but not bad," Silver threw in. "I still don't trust them. Everywhere else in the wasteland, they're monsters. What makes these Alicorns so different?" Stardust protested. "I couldn't tell you. I guess we'll have to go find out," I said, walking past my friends and down the trail. Silver came up next to me. "Stop blaming yourself, Shadow." "I'm not blaming myself." "Yes, you are. I can see it on your face," she said, bumping my flank. I stopped and looked at her. "I'm not blaming myself. No, I couldn't help what happened to him. It's my fault that he was put in the situation in the first place. If I would have just found him in a better place to live, he would have been safe. A colt shouldn't be traveling around the wasteland like this." She shook her head and hugged me. "You can't control everything that happens. You don't know that what would have happened to him if you left him somewhere else. You have to remember that no matter where you are, the wasteland is still there. Even back in New Pegasus,
Seems like things are nice and fun there, but in reality, even there you have one pony controlling everything. Even killing ponies who don't do what he wants. I pulled away from her and sighed. You're probably right, I guess. But if he dies, I don't know what I'll do. If he does, we'll be here for you no matter what, Laura said, walking up to us, followed by Stardust. Shadow, we all agreed to take Wingnut with us. The blame belongs to all of us. You don't have to carry the entire weight of the world on your shoulders, Stardust said wisely. I sighed and continued on the path, making sure to step around the dust left over from the moss lurkers. Thanks. Let's get moving. I want to get there as fast as we can. Like the Alicorn said, it didn't take us long to reach Frosty Summit Ski Lodge. I have to admit, I was impressed with what they had set up. A large wall stood around the lodge, keeping anything from getting in from anywhere apart from the entrance that the only trail led up to. Sitting on each side was a gate with 2 more Alicorns. They were green. They looked a lot more like statues than guards. The strange part was that the green shield was blocking the way in. I walked up and tapped on it. What is this thing? I looked over at one of the green Alicorns. Hello? Can you let us in? They didn't even blink. They just kept staring out towards the trail leading up to them. I tapped on the shield again, then looked back at my friends. Any idea on how to get in there? We could fly over, but I'm sure they have some kind of protection in the skies too, Stardust said, looking up. There was a flash, and the Alicorn from before appeared, her necklace glowing brightly as she approached us. Greetings. Welcome to Frosty Summit. I'm glad you were able to make it so quickly. Is Wingnut okay? I asked. Her face grew sorrowful as she spoke. I'm sorry, but I'm not sure yet. I got him to Dr. Cottage as quickly as I could. He's seeing to the colt as we speak. Can we see him? Not yet. The doctor said he would need time to look over him to make sure none of the spores went too far into his body, he replied. Aura walked up next to me and looked at the Alicorn. Let me ask you something. What are a bunch of Alicorns doing in a place like this? I looked at my griffin companion. Aura, now's not the time to be asking questions like that. Wingnut's hurt. Yeah, he is. There's nothing we can do about that now apart from wait around to find out what happens. She replied, then looked back at the Alicorn. Now answer my question. The large blue Alicorn sighed and looked around. In the distance, I could see 3 more Alicorns, much like the 2 greens who were guarding the gate into Frosty Summit. There were 2 dark purple ones and another blue one, who stood in front of us now. A small smile came to the Alicorn's lips as she spoke. I understand why you'd be suspicious of us. In most of the wasteland, Alicorns like myself are considered monsters, and they are mostly right. I wasn't much different too long ago. I was part of Unity, same for the others. The goddess sent us to New Pegasus to find something for her, to find out more about the pony who runs the city. If that's true, then why are you all held up here? I've run into your kind when I was out near Manhattan before. We barely got away with our lives, Aura said, still giving her that hard stare. Was it just me, or were any of my friends finding it freaky that Alicorn never moved her muzzle when she talked? The Alicorn chuckled a little. We are held up here because you say it is safe and away from other ponies who would try to kill us because of what we are. You are also right about the rest of my kind. Though from what I can tell, the unicorn doesn't know anything about Alicorns. She looked at me when I said that, but of course she looked at me, the only ignorant one in the group. I blushed. I haven't been very many places since I left my stable, and honestly, you're the first Alicorn I've met. And that doesn't surprise me, child. You see, a pony back before the war, Twilight Sparkle, was trying to make Alicorns to use them to end the war. Sadly, the bombs fell on that same day. She finally perfected the formula. There was an accident, and the goddess was born. It took some time, but eventually this pony who calls herself the goddess was able to make more Alicorns with this formula, and over time she started ordering us to find different things for her, so that she could make herself and us more powerful. She thinks of us as the perfect pony to live in this destroyed world. We thrive in radiation, and taint does not hurt us. The drawback, though, is that every pony she turns into an alicorn gets their mind and soul made into part of unity. Most of us are just a jumble of different minds controlled by the goddess. I really wasn't liking the sound of the goddess or her alicorns. Then something started to bug me, so I asked, "What does any of this have to do with why you're out here hiding in the hills?" A few years ago, the goddess sent the 6 of us out here to see if we could find an old artifact called the Alicorn Amulet. She rested a hoof on the red gem she wore. I noticed it was shaped like a pony with horns and wings. I led the team, and we did find it. But once I took hold of it, some kind of magic deep within it blasted the control she had over me, and for the first time in years, I felt like a pony again. When she noticed the connection was lost, she tried to pull the rest back, but the amulet I now wore stopped her. However, not before she was able to pull the souls away from them. As of now, the others you see are mindless shells. I can control them, like myself, like she once did, but they are nothing more than what you see. They have no mind, no soul, and no personality. If they were to leave the area, I would lose control on them, and she would take them back. So I keep us hidden up here with the hope that one day someone will find a way to destroy the goddess, and free my kind from her control. Or cocked her head. So that thing around your neck keeps the goddess from taking you over again, and from acclaiming the others? In a small way, yes. It also enhances my own power quite a bit, and it keeps my soul bonded with this vessel. So, before all this happened, you were a normal pony? I asked. I was, though I don't have much memory of who I used to be. I only have small bits of pieces that the goddess let me know when I was put into this body. Aura snickered. So what do we call you now? Goddess 2.0? I do not think of myself as any kind of goddess. You may call me Violet. Violet? I'd say you're more of a cyan than a violet, I said, looking over her light blue coat. She frowned at me. I happen to like the name that I chose for myself, thank you very much. It is pretty. Silver was looking at the amulet Violet was wearing. After a moment, she said, I read something about the amulet once. From what I understand, it's a power too great for anybody to handle. Normally it makes them mad with power or turn evil. And that is true. It is because the ponies who go looking for the power lack enough magical power to handle it. They want something more, and the power they gain takes control of them, driving them mad. I do not have that particular issue, because alicorns are gifted magic users, and we can handle its power more than anyone could ever hope to, Violet said with another small smile. So when you have that on, you're more powerful than most alicorns, and it keeps you out of the control of the goddess? I asked. Yes, that is how it works. Sure, this is all fascinating and all, but you all seem to care more about this than the kid who could be dying, Stardust said, walking past us. I'm gonna go check with this doctor and see how Wingnut's doing, but by all means, you 3 keep talking to the freak. Violet looked over at Stardust. Dr. Cottage is still attending to him. You should at least wait until he's stable before you try to bother him. Listen, I appreciate you that helped us back there, and got Wingnut here quickly so we could get to a doctor. I don't need you telling me what I can or can't do when it comes to some pony I care about. Now, where's the doctor? I'm checking on Wingnut, Stardust said, pointing a hoof at the alicorn's face. She sighed, then pointed a hoof towards the lodge. He is in the room just to the right of the entryway, but I must warn you, Dr. Cottage doesn't like to be bothered while he's with a patient. Too bad, Stardust said, flying off towards the lodge. I should go make sure he keeps his rifle holstered, I said, following Stardust. By the time I caught up with him, he was banging his hoof on a set of double doors just inside the entry to the lodge. Since it didn't seem like he was about to start shooting the door, I took a moment to look around. He was out of ammo anyway. The entryway was large and still looked really nice. Nice for a building that was over, 200 years old. Anyway. There was a staircase that led up to a second floor. Old paintings hung on the walls. Even a few ministry posters just behind the check-in desk. One caught my eye. It was a picture of Fluttershy, and the poster said, "War is not the answer. Enroll in the Ministry of Peace." Her gentle smile was so sweet and innocent. I almost wished I could have raced to the closest Ministry of Peace hub to enroll right now. Before I could look at the others, Stardust's hoof stopped banging on the door. I looked over and saw that one of the doors opened, and out walked Nurse Pony Stallion. He had a vermilion coat, with a salt and pepper gray mane, a matching 5 o'clock shadow, and blue eyes. He looked over at Stardust with a blank expression. "Can I help you?" "Finally, some pony to talk to. I need to talk to the doctor." One of his eyebrows lifted. Then he looked around and said, "There's a doctor in the shithole. If you do happen to see him, tell him my leg hurts." I noticed that his right foreleg had a brace on it, and looked like a chunk of flesh was missing from some old injury. Who are you?" Stardust asked. "Oh, no, my cover's been blown. Surprise, I'm the king of the breezies," he said arrogantly. Stardust was starting to get that shooty look. Before I could walk over and interject, Stardust said, "I don't have time for games. My friend was injured a little while ago, and I want to see the doctor right now." The stallion took a moment to lift his hoof up and popped something into his mouth. He shivered, then said, "Fine, I'm Dr. Cottage. I take it you must be Daddy. One moment." He popped another something into his muzzle. "What do you want?" "I'm not his father." Dr. Cottage looked confused and lost in thought for a split second. "Interesting, but that still does not answer my question. What do you want?" "I want to see him and know what's going on." "And I want a harem of floozies to do my bidding, but all I got were 3 idiots and a zebra," Dr. Cottage replied, sounding surprisingly more sarcastic than Stardust. I interrupted. "You're an ass." He turned and looked at me. "And you're annoying. Go play. The adults are talking about your dying friend." Swear to the goddesses every time. "I am an adult, jackass. I'm just short." He limped over to me, giving me a funny look. "Fascinating. Do you have any medical conditions?" No. "I need to examine you. Every inch." "What? No." "It's okay. I'm a doctor." "Says who?" "A little piece of paper in a frame that doesn't have my name on it next to the wall." "Duh." Stardust just looked more confused and angry now. What wall ball? Dr. Cottage looked back at him condescendingly. "It's a fuzzy red and gray ball that I throw at the wall and then catch it again, then throw it again and catch it. It helps me think, and it's mine, so don't touch it." "Oh no, you're gonna shoot me?" "If you do that, I won't be able to tell you that little twerp in there has a mutated form of aspergillosis. He's already turning blue, so you don't have much time to cure him." Stardust lowered his rifle. "Blue is his natural color. The hell is aspergillosis?" "Well, that complicates things. Aspergillosis is a fungal infection absorbed into the lungs from the mold spores. The normal symptoms are cough, fever, chest pain, and difficulty breathing. However, in this mutated form, which is a lot different, it has some of the same symptoms, but they're more severe. If he doesn't die or get cured, he'll turn into one of those things that attacked him. Right now, we have him on an IV of verclozone, which is a antifungal. But since we have him on such a high dose and the infection itself is extremely invasive, there's a good chance he could die. Happy?" "No! You just said he could die!" Dr. Cottage actually looked pleased with his reaction. "Exactly. Could die, not will die. Everything's gonna be fine. Maybe." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you fucking high?" "Blissfully," he said, smiling at me. "This had to be some kind of joke," I said, not believing the stallion could be a real doctor. As I said this, a beautiful unicorn mare with a white lab coat and chestnut mane walked out of the room. She was wearing a white lab coat. She looked crossly at us. "What's all the commotion out here?" Stardust perked up a little. Finally, a real doctor. This asshole won't tell us what's going on with our friend. Dr. Cottage blew a raspberry. I did tell you what's going on with the little mutant. It's not my fault you don't know how to listen. 21, can you tell them they're idiots and to go away? She rolled her hazel eyes.
Cottage, how many pills have you taken today?
Only one, I think. Bullshit, you just took 2 a minute ago, Stardust said, pointing a hoof at him. Did not, you're seeing things. You really should get your eyes checked. I heard pink eyes going around. Wait, nope, too late. Looks like you already have it. We should get you in quarantine. You the doctor around here? If so, what the fuck's going on with him? I asked, walking over to her. Dr. Cottage interrupted before she could speak. Nothing's wrong with me. My leg just hurts and I have herpetogenesis that I got from 21. That's it. Mind you though, she's pretty freaky, if you know what I mean. One of them? Yes. Sorry if Dr. Cottage is giving you a hard time. He does it to every pony. By the way, herpetogenesis isn't a real disease. He's just saying that to screw with you. Oh, and I never slept with him. Like I said, he does it to every pony. Looking over at us, Dr. Cottage replied, I do not. I do it to everybody, not just ponies. That includes zebras, griffins, and alicorns. And don't forget annoying legion of breezies, too. She face-hoofed. As I was saying, I'm sorry about Dr. Cottage. He might seem like an ignorant buffoon, and he, well, kind of is. But he's a brilliant physician. I take it you're the Blue Colt's friends? You always ruin the fun, 21, he said. Then he turned and walked back to the other room. I'll be in my office. If any pony needs me to, well, too bad. I'll be busy making paper hoofballs. Is he really a doctor? Yeah, he is. He's just an ass. If it wasn't for how good he was, no one put up with him, she said, shaking her head a little. Anyway, your friend's still out, but the treatment we're giving him seems to be helping. We'll need to keep him on the IV for a few more hours to make sure he gets plenty of rest. Stardust looked worried as he asked. Dr. Cottage said he might not pull through, though. You sure he'll be okay? Honestly, no. It's bad enough to get hit with a moss lurker's poison. He took a direct hit to the face. He inhaled a lot of the spores and ingested some of them as well. When he arrived, we had to pump his stomach and clean out his airway before we could administer the antifungal. All we can do now is hope he's strong and can make it through the night. If he does, his chance of survival will go up significantly. Is there any way we could see him? I asked. Not right now. He needs his rest, and we can't risk him waking up and getting agitated. Give him a few hours, and then we'll see how he's doing. If he's looking better, then you can see him. Come on. We'll make sure we don't bother him at all. We just need to make sure he's okay, Stardust begged. Well, I guess one of you can go and see him. You're going to make sure you don't disturb him. Looking over at Stardust, I sighed. You go check on him. I'm not sure I can handle seeing him as he is right now. Are you sure? Yeah. I'll go see if I can find out where this Dashite is. Just come find us when you're done checking on Wingnut. Okay, he said, looking back at 21. Where is he? In the other room. Just follow me, she said, leading my friend away. I sighed, then turned back towards the door that led back out to the front of the lodge. The door opened before I could go anywhere else. Silver, Aura, and Violet came through. How's he doing? Aura asked. Not sure. Stardust is checking on him right now. From what the doctor said, he's not well. Silver walked over to me, pulling me into a hug and whispering, I have faith that he'll pull through. Just believe in him and all will be well, Shadow. Hugging her back, I said, wish there was something I could do. Feel so useless right now. I'll go talk with the doctor and see if I can help at all. I know a few zebra remedies that might help. Why don't you go get some rest for now, and I'll find you when I know more, Aura said, walking past me. One of the doctors said that we shouldn't let too many go see him right now. He needs his rest. She smiled. I'd like to see him stop me. Don't worry too much about me. I'll make sure not to disturb shrimp number 2. I nodded, then looked over at Silver. Feel up to helping me find a Dashite? What are you looking for a Dashite for? She asked. The Queen wanted me to come here and see him. She wants to know if he knows anything she can use to help the town. Violet looked towards me and spoke in my mind. Are you referring to the Pegasus who arrived here a week ago? I'm not sure. All I know is he's a recent Dashite that came here looking for protection. He's the only Pegasus that came here recently. Unfortunately, he isn't here at the moment. He's out hunting down the rest of the moss lurkers that have been stalking our borders. I sent him out right before you arrived. Violet replied. Damn it. I don't know what I should have expected. Do you know when he'll be back? Later tonight, or maybe tomorrow morning. He's a skilled fighter, but there's a lot of those disgusting creatures roaming around as of late. If you want, I can tell him you're looking for him when he gets back. That'd be fine. You have a place where we could rest up for a while? Silver interjected. Most of the rooms at the top floor are vacant. You may choose whichever you want. Are you sure we should be resting up right now? She looked over at me, giving me a stern look. Shadow, you need rest. You went through a lot today, and you could use a little downtime. You always push yourself to the edge. One day it'll come back to haunt you. I'd also like to know more about the thing that took control of you. You at least owe me that much of an explanation. She was right. So I let her pull me away with her magic and lead me upstairs. Over the next hour, Silver showed me how she preferred to relax. Damn, this mare had a libido that to make most stallions jealous. Though once we were done and resting each other's hooves, I realized that she was right. Most of my thoughts about Wingnut and the shit over the last few hours were washed away in sweat, moans, and overall bliss. She knew just the right spots to hit. You look like you're feeling better, she teased, kissing my nose. I poked her in the side with a hoof. Stop that. And yes, I am. I'm still worried about Wingnut, though, but the stress has definitely gone down. She looked up at the ring Squirrel and Moose had given me, resting on the base of my horn. So, do you want to tell me of the whole thing that was about? I sighed and nuzzled into her neck. I don't really know much about her, to be honest. While I ran into those brothers, I just thought I was going nuts, or at least was being affected by too much radiation. She calls herself Morningstar. That's not a real name. I don't know for sure. She took on the name Morningstar because it was my name before I went to Stable 28. She took on the name because she thinks she's part of me. She calls herself my true power. She even looks a lot like me, with the coat and mane reversed. She wants to take over my body. She thinks that I trapped her in me or something. I don't know. She never talks to me long, and when she does, it's usually insults. When did this all start happening? At first I thought I was back at the Steel Ranger compound. She came to me in a dream. Now that I think about it, I remember hearing her voice a couple other times before that. Once was in my stable right before I found this pip-buck. I also remember a voice telling me to move when we were flying into hidden sands. Somehow she knew that some griffins were going to shoot at us. She took a moment to think, then asked, What happened in your stable? A message came up on the pip-buck with the words Morningstar. When I read it, I started getting a bunch of flashbacks. She first started talking to me then. She said she could take all the pain away if I just asked. I did, and the vision stopped. Man, not much else. I didn't have time to think about it right then, because I ran into security, and things kinda went to shit after that. Is there anything else that she told you apart from the insults? She said her life is tied to mine. She needs me alive to keep herself alive. So she needs you alive, but also wants to take your body? There has to be more to this. I mean, where did she even come from? I have no idea. That's just something else I want to ask Mom about. If I can even get her to answer me, that is. Enough of this talk. It's getting late. We could get some rest unless you're up for another round. That was tempting right now, even after everything she did. My body still wanted more. That sounds nice. But honestly, I really need to go walk around and get some fresh air. Clear my head a little more. She gave me a pouty face. You mean I can't help you clear your head? I kissed her nose and smiled. You can. I don't think you can help me with the fresh air part. Don't worry. I'll be back in a little bit. Oh well. I should probably get to work anyway. I have a little more touching up to do on a new project of mine, she said, rolling off the bed, walking over to her saddlebags. New project? What are you working on? You'll see soon enough. Now go and leave me for a while. I'll be waiting here when you get back. Okay. I'll be back soon, I said, kissing her before I walked out of the room. I went back outside. It was getting dark out now. Violet was standing just outside, looking up at the dark clouds overhead. I walked over to her. You okay, Violet? Her voice echoed in my head. Something isn't right. It worries me. What do you mean? She looked over at me, her blue eyes looking so gentle as she spoke. Nothing that concerns you. I can just tell that something is coming. I'm worried about this settlement, and the ponies who live here. We may be few in numbers, but in the past few months we've made this place home. I don't want to see that ruined. There must be something that I can do to help. She smiled. You have enough on your plate right now. You don't need to be worrying yourself about us Alicorns. It is my job to protect this place and my kind. It may be true, but I hate seeing you all worried like that. I appreciate your concerns. I really do. But don't worry. Why don't you go look around and meet some of the ponies that live here? Who knows? You could make a friend or two. I don't know. I'm not really that great at making friends. She laughed. You could have fooled me. She looked over towards the northeast wall. I have an idea. You should go talk to Laserlight. She's over in the watchtower and she could use a nice pony to talk to. Looking over towards the watchtower, I could see the silhouette of a pony. Who is she? Go talk to her and you'll find out. I need to go back inside and check on the other Alicorns. They don't do well when night falls, and I want to make sure the goddess hasn't been trying to get back into their heads. Figuring that it couldn't hurt, I made my way over to the watchtower and climbed up. When I got to the top, I saw a pony looking out at the hills and trees along the lodge. She had a medium pink mane, tied resembling a pony's tail, and a dark gray coat. She was wearing a long flight jacket that looked well armored. It had fur running along the collar and reinforced barding under it. She looked back at me as I reached the top. She had piercing green eyes. I also noticed she had fangs a lot like Wind Thrasher, only shorter. Taken aback by that for a moment. Can I help you? She asked in a light, gentle voice. Violet sent me over here to talk to you, I guess? She said you could use a nice pony to talk with. I'm Shadowstar. She smiled and shook her head. Damn, well, karma's a bitch. Pardon? Nothing. Just remembering something from the past. I met a zebra quite a while ago. Similar to the same way you're meeting me, that's all. So the lady in blue with the flashy necklace said I could use a nice pony to talk to, huh? Yeah, I guess. Not sure why, though. She laughed and went back to looking out at the landscape. I noticed then that she had a modified magical energy rifle sitting next to her. She probably thinks I need to talk to ponies more because I'm always up here or helping my boss with something. I don't get time to socialize much, and she's always trying to get ponies to talk to me, but most around here don't want to. They say I scare them. You don't look all that scary to me, I said, sitting next to her. You haven't seen me fight either. True, but I've seen a lot of shit since I came out into the wasteland. I'm sure you couldn't scare me much after what I've seen. Where are you from? She asked. Stable 28. It's... She interrupted me. Southwest of the town of Cartwheel, on the other side of Green Mist Valley, behind a rickety door with a dead family on the other side. How do you know that? I asked. I thought no pony knew where the location of the stable was. I noticed that her look now was a little harder. I found the location many years ago. Followed one of the traders back from it. From what I heard, about the past few years, the stable's been closed off and no pony's been able to see it since. How did you escape? I overmarried psychotic, and I had to run for my life. It was after this pip buck, and wanted to cut it off my leg to get it. I said, showing her the silver and red pip buck. She looked at it, her eyes going wide. In a flash, her rifle was up and pointed right at me. How did you get your hooves on that? Who are you? Told you who I was. My name's Shadowstar. This pip buck was my mother's. Left it for me right before she left our stable. The fuck was her problem? She lowered her rifle a little. Grimoire left her prized possession behind in a stable just for you? I shook my head a little. Wait, what? You know my mother? Of course I do. I gave the location to her friend Verdane. Before they left to go to that damned stable, your mother betrayed me. I owe her a shot at the face with my rifle for that. I don't know what your issue is with my mother, but I had nothing to do with it. She left when I was just a little filly. I mean, come on. She really have to point that thing at me just because she was pissed off on my mom? She lowered the rifle a little. I thought the daughter's name was Morningstar. Used to be. She changed it when we got to the stable. And before you ask, no, I don't know why. I don't remember anything before life in the stable. She cocked her head at me, then looked at my pip buck. I wouldn't put it past that lying bitch to use some kind of spell to mess with her own daughter's memories. But from what I remember, first, she was a good mother. Think you could stop pointing the rifle at me, please? I asked. She looked down at her rifle, then back at me. Sorry, I guess I just kind of reacted to the sight of that pip buck, she said, putting the rifle back against the wall. Fine. I'm getting sort of used to ponies pointing guns at me. She laughed a little. I think that's the only way the Wastelanders know how to say hello. I laughed along with her. Yeah, tell me about it. We took a moment until our laughter stopped. Speaking of hellos, Shadowstar, my name's Laserlight. It's nice to meet you, Laserlight. It's nice to meet you, too. Can I ask you something, Laserlight? I think you just did, but go ahead. How did you know my mother? And why do you hate her so much? She looked thoughtful for a moment, then she leaned against the wall. About 11 years ago, I met her. She was working a mission for the Steel Rangers around the time I joined up. She'd been gone for a while, working on some project with a couple other scribes. I first met her when she finally returned from that mission. I'd heard stories about Grimoire from one of her friends, a knight called Vervain. I worked a lot with Vervain on various missions during those days. She was always going on about Grimoire and her daughter. I never got to meet you, however. You were always sick in bed when I was around. Wait a sec, I interrupted. You used to be a Steel Ranger? She gave me a sad smile. Emphasis on used to be. I was kicked out around 10 years ago, which was about the time that Grimoire went into Stable 28 to start her new mission with Vervain. Before that day, I really liked your mom. She was kind and always had interesting stories to tell. She always worrying about you, though. I remember that quite well. I had a sinking feeling in my stomach from what she was telling me. I take it that my mom did something to get you kicked out of the Steel Rangers? That she did. I had a good thing going with them back in the day. I worked hard and was just about to make my transition from knight to paladin when the shit hit the fan. I learned something that I shouldn't have about your mom. When I tried to ask her about it, she freaked out, used a spell on me to remove the knowledge of what she was doing. I can remember finding out something, but I'm not sure what it was. It was right after that she went and told the Elder the one secret that I had, and I was thrown out of the Steel Rangers. Honestly, I was lucky they didn't kill me, but the Elder at the time took pity on me and said that I wasn't ever allowed near the compound again. I took a moment to let that information sit in before I continued. A couple weeks ago, I would have said that there was no way my mother could have done such a thing. The more I find out about her, the more I realize I don't really know her as well as I thought I did. I'm not saying that she was a bad pony or anything, even though I'd like to kick her ass for betraying me. Back then she only cared about one thing, keeping her little girl alive. From the looks of it, she found a way to do so. So tell me, why did she leave you behind in that nasty place? I wish I knew. Been trying to figure that out ever since I left. I didn't even know she was really alive until I got out. All I know about her is that she rejoined the Steel Rangers for a while, then left on bad terms. Later, she went to New Pegasus and was looking for a Dashite named Striker. She went off to Hoovington to find him. After that, I have no idea what happened. But I did learn that 6 months ago she was spotted back in New Pegasus, and she wasn't the same mare I used to know. Laserlight whistled. Yet. Well, Hoovington will do that to you. It's a horrible city. You couldn't get me to go there for all the caps in the world. Only a fucking nutjob would dare to go there. I wonder why she was looking for Striker, though. Don't tell me you know who this Dashite is, too. Smiled again. I've been wandering the wasteland for a lot of years. I met him a couple years ago when he flew out this way. Sadly, he died not long after. He saved me when I was on a mission to clear out a raider nest. He was a nice stallion. I never knew why. He knew Grimoire, though. Always another dead end, I guess. Maybe. But he did tell me that he left everything he owned back with a pony by the name of Priest in a small town called Chapel. Striker may be dead, but if I know that pony like I do, he left something behind with his stuff. Though I wouldn't recommend going to Hoofington if you can help it. From what I heard, it's on the other end of Equestria. I'd have to get a working sky carriage if I wanted to get there in one piece. That and a Pegasus who would be willing to fly it all the way there. Or if you have the caps, a Griffin. She said with another smile. That wouldn't be a problem. Two of my companions are flyers. One's a Griffin who's my bodyguard, the other's a runaway Pegasus from a stable that was run by the Enclave. Really? He looked in disbelief. Yeah, they've both been traveling with me for a while now. Is your Pegasus friend a Dashite? Kinda, I guess. He ran away from his stable, and the Enclave is out to kill him. He's never been marked as one. He got a distant look when I said that. Well, shit. He's a lucky buck, then. That many Pegasi can get away from the Enclave like that. I wouldn't exactly call being hunted down by the 7 sins of equinity lucky. Fuck. I thought I had problems. Those ponies are crazy. I'll say. I did manage to kill one of them the other day. Pride was pretty pissed. Hold up a minute. Are you telling me you managed to take down one of the sins? Yeah. A little help from my friends. And you're still breathing? That's amazing. I frowned a little. More lucky than amazing. Gluttony was an idiot. If he was even a little less brash, I'd be dead. Goddess's girl, your story just keeps getting weirder, she said. Trouble keeps finding me. Like right before I got here, my friend who's a colt was attacked by moss lurkers. He's being treated right now by the doctor. She winced at that one. I'll admit he's a good doctor. But fuck, he's a total asshole. I couldn't agree more. He reached over to a set of saddlebags and pulled out a bottle of Wild Pegasus whiskey. You know what we need right now, Shadow? I looked at the bottle and smiled a little. I have a feeling you're going to say a shot or two of Wild Pegasus. While it's true I don't need this whiskey, it's too damn good. And it kills time. It can get boring up here. But this whiskey has gotten me through some pretty tough times. From the sound of it, you need something to help you get your mind off what's been going on, she said, opening the bottle and taking a drink, then passing it to me. I did the same and passed it back, shivering a little as the liquor ran down my throat. That'll do. Tell me, what's your story, Laserlight? Shook another swig, then gasped happily. I don't have one. I'm just a pony who goes around playing bodyguard for the most annoying ghoul in the wasteland. She passed the bottle to me again, and after 2 long swigs, I asked, You work for a ghoul? Yep. He's a pain in the ass. Doesn't know when to shut up, and he acts like a colt most of the time. He is very smart, and the pay is really good, she said, taking a drink. Sounds a lot like Stardust. He's a good pony, but he's such a pain sometimes. Is he a good friend? She asked. He's a very good friend. He also has a knack for swooping in at the last second to save me when I get myself into trouble. Same with Aura. That's something every pony needs out here. Good friends. What about you, Laserlight? Do you have any friends? Yeah, a couple. But I'm always busy working, so I don't get to see them often. Or they're dead. The Wasteland has a funny way of saying, fuck you to this Wasteland bitch. You can never get content out there, she said, drinking some more. I joined her. My head was starting to feel nice and swimmy. I just realized that Silver is going to get pissed at me if I go back to our room drunk. Who's Silver? Oh, she's my mare friend, I think. Never really put a label on it since we started doing things. What? Yesterday, I think? Or was that today? I can't remember. She winked at me. So you like mares, do you? I don't really know. I mean, I like bucks too. There's just something about mares that makes me feel comfortable. Know what I mean? She laughed and took another drink. No, I wouldn't. I've never been with a mare. What? You never thought about it? Yep, I was drunk. Come on, Shadow, not every pony in the wasteland swings both ways. I didn't say that. I just never tried anything, that's all. Where I grew up, they preferred same-sex relationships. It works like population control. Where did you grow up? I need to visit a place like that. In my stable, if you were caught with another of the same sex, you got in a lot of trouble. Why was this world starting to spin slowly? I don't remember feeling this way when I got drunk with Little Buck. Trust me, you don't want to go anywhere near where I grew up. It's not as fun as you think. So then, if you did think about doing something with a mare, why didn't you? Because I got married, had a kid, and thoughts like that went away for a while. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were married, I said, my voice getting slurred. It's okay. After I had to leave my home, I couldn't see my husband anymore. I miss him so much, sometimes it even hurts to think about. She was looking at the bottle of Wild Pegasus with a sad face now. Hey, don't get sad. I hate it when ponies are sad. Maybe I could help cheer you up. She took one more swig, then gave the rest to me to finish. It wasn't much, but a couple more mouthfuls was welcome. How do you think you can cheer me up? I just shrugged. I have no idea, but I would if I knew what would make you smile. She grinned at me, then moved closer, pressing her body against mine and resting her head on my shoulder. You're a very sweet mare, you know that. Your mare friend's a lucky gal. I think I'm the lucky one. She was the one who helped remind me who I was. She always seems to know what to say to cheer me up. So this mare friend, Silver, are you two exclusive? It was hard for me to push through the fog in my head. I'm not sure. Maybe, I guess? You never said anything about it. Why do you ask? She kissed my cheek and gave me a big smile, her fangs shining in the dying light. Should we go find out? My mind went to the dirtiest parts it could find. Sure. But one thing. Can I ask you one more thing? Anything. Why do you have fangs? She looked confused for a moment, and laughed. I'll tell you another time. How about that? I'm too buzzed right now to explain, and if I do, I don't know what I'm thinking about right now. I'll probably never be able to again. She grabbed my hoof and let me back down the ladder. Amazingly, neither of us fell in our drunken stupor. A few minutes later, we were both standing at the door of my room I shared with Silver. I pushed it open and saw her sitting on the bed reading a book. She looked up as we both walked in, asking, Who's your friend, Shadow? I swayed and giggled a little before I could speak. This is Laserlight. He was nice enough to share some whiskey with me, and we were talking about stuff. Then she started talking about you and me. She was asking something about if we were exclusive or not. I don't know what that means with a relationship, so she decided we should just find you. Hello. She waved drunkenly. She rolled her eyes and set her book down. You're drunk, huh? That explains a lot. She slid off the bed and walked over to us. How much did you drink? I don't know. There's a big gray area between enough and not enough. Laserlight seemed to find her voice then. At least half a bottle. No, wait, a little less. It wasn't full when we started. I don't think it was, at least. For goddesses' sakes, Silver said, shaking her head as she smiled. To answer both of you, I would consider Shadow and I exclusive. But since she's drunk and so are you, I just don't know how to say no to her stupid cute face. I can make an exception as long as I'm not being left out. She moved forward and kissed me. Laser Light swayed again, then smiled. Okay. Now that's kinda cute. A little arousing too. Silver looked at her and smiled. Never seen two mares kissing. Seen it, not for a while. Never kissed a mare? Silver said, getting her muzzle a little close to Laser's. Nope, she said, blushing. Silver's voice came out in a whisper, slow and seductive. Do you want to? Silver looked back at me and pulled me close and pressed my head up to the other mares. A moment later, I was kissing the medium pink-maned mare. It was different from kissing Silver, but it was still nice. Laserlight sure knew what she was doing, too. As soon as our lips met, she pressed her tongue into my muzzle and kissed me back. A small shiver running through her body. Silver started to giggle a little. It's even hotter watching your mare friend kiss like that in front of you. Good thing I'm not the jealous type. How about we shut the door and take this to a more comfortable place? The rest of the night, I got to learn something new about Silver. She read too many books about making love. Because the things we did that night, I never would have thought in my wildest dreams. Okay, maybe in my wildest. I would have never tried to ask any pony to do what she was having us do. I'll say that even though Laserlight said she hadn't been with a mare before, she did know how to please a mare. Over and over again. By the time we all drifted off to sleep, my body couldn't move an inch. I didn't mind, though. It was the best night of my life. I woke up the next day, with my head hurting, but not as bad as last time. I moaned a little as the night before it came back to me slowly. I smiled a little as I felt Silver's head resting on my chest. She was breathing slowly and curled up against my body. Then I felt feathers rubbing against the side of my head. Wait a second. I was riding with an earth pony last night, wasn't I? I looked over and saw Laserlight sleeping on the other side of me, one of her wings resting against the side of my head. Laserlight was a Pegasus? I looked down at her flanks and saw a cutie mark. It was a magical energy rifle with a laser sight on it. He was a Pegasus with a cutie mark. Was she Enclave? I was about to wake up and ask her about it when a voice came from the doorway. For fuck's sake, Laserlight. I leave you alone for one night and you go around getting drunk and screwing two mares. Now that's a new one. I looked at the voice and saw an earth pony ghoul standing in the doorway. His voice wasn't like any ghoul I ever met. It did have a little rasp to it, but was higher pitched and whiny. Laserlight got up and looked at the ghoul with death in her eyes. Really, Nexus? You have to bother me all the fucking time? I do get days off, you know. I looked back at the ghoul, then back at Laserlight, then back at the ghoul again. Wait, you're Nexus? Footnote. Level up. New perk added. Steady horn. Stay on target. Hip fire accuracy is improved when firing any gun. Quest item acquired. Zebra Demon Ward. You have been given an ancient zebra talisman. When worn, it will protect you from possession by any minor demon of the stars. Beware, though. This relic has been known to cause trouble for unicorns and their magic.